All right, Dynamite Delight. Now, before we get started, I got to say this for the situation of AEW that it's in. Now, I've already know that ROH has got a TV deal coming up. It's going to get its own TV deal. But I want to say this. Right now, I'm going to be talking in my review that there are 5 storylines, 5 distinct storylines that currently is going off in AEW. 5. And I know you're going to say, dude, that's way more than that. They got a whole bunch on Collision. They got some on Rampage. They got some on ROH. Those don't mean anything. They don't at this time. The 5 main storylines are the ones that matter the most. Now, some of them will bleed over to Collision easily. It don't make a difference with Rampage. And when it comes to... And I got to make this very clear. ROH getting its own TV deal. This is what I'm talking about before it gets started. I don't give 2 flips about ROH. They're trying to do what WWE, well, TKO WWE has done. They put their developmental on TV instead of leaving it on the network. And that is what ROH is. It's their freaking developmental, which they should have left it on YouTube. Let's make this, I'm saying this now. I don't give 2 flips about them getting a TV deal for ROH. ROH is not its own separate company. It is not a promotion. It is a developmental. A developmental that was placed on Honor Club when it should have been placed in, well, flat out, it should have been on YouTube. Like, remember AEW Dark? AEW Dark Elevation? It should have taken the place of both those shows, and they should have been running those shows on YouTube and then do the pay-per-view along with AEW. That is the way it should have been, and it's not. And I don't give 2 flips about it. It doesn't make a difference how well they've been doing their storylines. The only way to see it was to pay an extra bit of money to Honor Club. And if you try to justify it, you can't. You cannot justify making ROH its own show, putting it on a website where you got to pay when people are already paying more money as it is. No one cares about ROH. That is a major general fan. There are fans, but not a major one. Not a general fan. You know why? Because simply put, who wants to care about ROH when you got Collision, you got Rampage, which shouldn't exist, and you got Dynamite? It should be developmental on YouTube. It should have been. But that's just me moving on. Okay, we got 5 storylines. We got 4 matches where 1 was cut short. Now, the first match, Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy versus Pac and Claudio Castagnoli. A good match, but it was cut short. It literally was cut off with no winner. None. This is part of the Blackpool Combat Club's storyline. And I'm going to say this. Was the talking bad? No. Seeing that Wheeler Yuta is a soldier for a Jon Moxley, a soldier that he's willing to sacrifice, fine. But here is the thing that must be understood, guys. And I'm making this clear, because I don't believe this can happen at Full Gear again. This may happen at World's End, and it should happen at World's End. Whatever Moxley is doing must be revealed at World's End. It makes the best sense, particularly with the title itself. And at this point, the way they're trying to position Orange Cassidy, which I don't expect him to win, it is obvious he's not going to win. It's got to lead somewhere. They must lead somewhere when it comes to World End. Whether it's going to be Shane McMahon or it's going to be someone else. If the storyline is just Moxley taking the place of the Bucks, and that briefcase does have a new title in it, it's going to fall flat on its face, and people are going to just get pissed off. I'm telling you now. I am not against the storyline. At least it is something different. Well, in the sense that when it came to the Bucks, this was a response because of CM Punk and his interview. Here, at least there is a possibility of someone new joining their side. And it possible Shane McMahon or someone else that we don't know about, counting if there is a person. But it's still a question, is there someone there? Does this lead somewhere? And is it going to be only about the Bucks? Because I'm making it clear, I see this coming. I'm not saying that no one else hasn't figured this out either. But if no one else has, it is obvious what it looks like. If this is about trying to make the Bucks the savior of AEW, it will fall flat on its face. It will fall flat on its face. If this was about Cody coming back, which it's not, that would be something that, because of what happened, what's going on with Cody Rhodes. If he left TKO WWE, which he's not, but if he did, and everyone knew he was gone, and at World's End, we get not the Bucks saving AEW to a Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club, but it is Cody. That would be something no one would actually see, which is not. So if it's not Shane McMahon, it better be someone else that's going to be on the side of a Moxley, of the Death Riders, of the Blackpool Combat Club. If it's not, this is going to fall flat, guys. I'm being honest. If the Bucks are going to be the one that's going to save AEW World's End, it's going to lose. People are not going to care. I'm sorry. Next, we get the match Death Before Dishonor on Dynamite, when it's a... What did I say earlier? That I didn't care about OH? Because yes, it's getting a TV deal, but it's not NXT, which I know many people say, dude, what about NXT? Why don't you do NXT? We like to see an NXT review. Well, I'm doing this here. And if I can in the morning, I will do my NXT review just in case. Because I didn't mention this in the early part of my review because I didn't want to, but here I am. Because if ROH is trying to be like NXT, it ain't going to work. The developmental is not going to feel important if it's not on YouTube, because WWE, TKO WWE, has it on USA. No, not USA. USA, or is it CW? CW. No, I forgot. Where is... It's USA. What am I talking about? Is it USA or CW? I can't remember right now. I'm blanking because there's a lot I'm thinking about when it comes to the situation of World's End. But you know it's on one of the TV channels. And if it's going exclusive somewhere else other than Honor Club, where you got to pay money, paying money, it'll die. No one's going to care. But it's just me. Do I care about Death Before Dishonor? No. Did I care about the learning tree dealing with the conglomeration? No. I cared more about Mark Briscoe having a moment with Chris Jericho, which could have happened at, guess what? The fucking pay-per-view. They could have done a blow-off at the pay-per-view, something special. But this should end it. Because he put his brother's name in his damn mouth. I'm going to whoop that ass. Here, on a Dynamite. Instead of making it special at the pay-per-view. It's not that far off. What is it? Almost near the end of the month. A few weeks. They couldn't stretch it. You couldn't have stretched it to World's End and make a special match. Last Man Standing's match. First Blood match. Well, actually, no, but First Blood. You see Mark Briscoe bleed all the time. But a Last Man Standing's match. An I Quit match. Something that could have made Chris Jericho suffer more. That would probably let him keep the title, but at least make it more special. A Death Before Dishonor here is stupid. I'm sorry, it is. Next. Adam Cole versus Malachi Black. It was a good match. I did like it. And the story that's going behind Adam Cole is the other storyline next to the Blackpool Combat Club. We got Adam Cole, Robert Strom, and MJF. Because they're going to do what I think they're going to do. Because let's make this clear. The way it looks, Roderick Strong is going to go up against Adam Cole. That's the key of this. Eventually, both of them are going to have a special match. It's going to happen. And yes, MJF made a call to somebody saying, I need something done. He took some money, gave it to a big-ass guy, along with his Dynamite Diamond ring, and said, look, I need something done with Adam Cole, baby. I need something done. And you don't scratch up my ring, or you're going to get scratched by the guy there or other people there. It's that guy. It's a big-ass man with some damn dreads. That's the deal. But that is the second storyline they're focusing on. Adam Cole dealing with MJF with Robert Strong put together in it. I do believe they're going to face one another, but there's going to be a big question of Robert Strong. because Kyle O'Reilly, I think, is still going to be in Adam Cole's corner. But I have this strange feeling that when it comes to Robert Strom, he is not going to be staying with the Undisputed Kingdom. I have this strange feeling that Robert Strom is going to turn on the Undisputed Kingdom and turn on Adam Cole when that time comes when he's got to deal with MJF, because I do not see MJF dealing with Adam Cole and Robert Strom without Robert Strom possibly turning on Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly will join the Undisputed Kingdom. That's what I think is going to happen. This is just me. You guys can tell me below. Let's get to Penelope. Guys, I'm going to make this very clear. Do I like Penelope Forbes? Yes, I do. I think she's freaking gorgeous. I think she's not a bad wrestler. She's actually improved. Then I look at Jamie Hayter. I've always liked Jamie Hayter. There's no lie about it. I said it myself. I still like Jamie Hayter. You just stuck both these women together, and neither one of them have a storyline. Neither one of them mean anything. Neither one of them is meaning anything other than what's going on with Chris Statlander, who Chris Statlander almost got run over by the SUV that is being driven by Camille, who screwed up and made Mercedes Moné pissed off. And then they're fighting, and Camille gets her arm jacked, and Mercedes gets pulled up, thrown onto the back of that really high, oh man, that is a big ass SUV to be lifting. And yes, Mercedes Moné is not a tiny woman, but she's small enough for a Chris Statlander to lift her up and throw on top of the lid of the SUV. But let's make it clear, that was a long way down after she got nailed and fall to the floor. There's no doubt in that. But that's a storyline, but it's not a good one. And then you look at Penelope Forbes. Then you look at what's going on when it comes to Jamie Hayter, who should have a storyline with a Saraya, but as far as I know, that's done. Either it's done on Collision, or mostly it's probably done on a Rampage, which Rampage doesn't mean anything. Saraya's not doing a damn thing if she's doing almost every storyline on Rampage, because look what happened on Rampage. We had a storyline between Jamie Hayter, I'm sorry, not Jamie Hayter, Saraya, Harley Cameron. I'm forgetting about this because I was so angry that you had Ruby Soho and Parker, I forgot his name, but they had a storyline. They're in a real life relationship that they were doing on Rampage instead of either Dynamite, which it should be there. Hell, you could have put it on Collision to give these two more exposure, but you put them on a Friday night where legitimately the story was dead because no one's watching Rampage on Friday night. They barely get almost 100 to 200,000 if they're lucky. Collision gets more people looking at it, and you couldn't even bother to put it there. And that storyline ends when Ruby Soho says she's pregnant, and currently she's out, and she will be getting a baby soon if she isn't already given birth. That was several months ago. I don't know if she's given birth yet. She might have. But the point is this, guys. The women's division has almost no storylines in it. None. So I feel sorry for Jamie Hayter and Penelope Forbes. And yes, Jamie Hayter won the match. But what does that mean? What does she gain? She's not working with Saraya. She's not working with Cameron now because she whooped that ass. And it isn't... You know what I'm saying. But you get my point. Moving on. We get the final match of the night. And I know you're going to say, dude, what happened with Christian Cage dealing with Hook? Look, I know you could say that's another storyline. That's 6 storylines. No, it's not. It's not. Not until Taz comes back. I'm sorry. Until Taz comes back and is in the corner of Hook, or better yet, counting how well Taz is, I would rather see Taz in the fucking ring dealing with Christian Cage directly than having Hook deal with Christian Cage. But I know Taz can't wrestle. So the best I'm going to get with Taz is he coming back, not be on commentary, be at full gear in the corner of Hook. That is where he needs to be. And until he returns and is actually in the corner of Hook, there is no story. And yes, Kip Sabian's working with them. but it's still not enough. And you're gonna say, dude, what about what he said about his sons letting him down, and what's going on with Nick Wayne, that he's acting like his son doesn't mean anything? No. Until Taz comes back, it's not going to mean anything. It sounded good, but until then, it's not a full developed storyline without Taz there. Taz got to be there, either to clearly state why he didn't say anything to Hook, because he said himself, Taz saw my face, why didn't he say anything? Or Taz comes out and says, that little bastard is lying. I'm going to be in my son's corner and he's going to whoop your ass. Sorry, until that story part comes in, it's still not enough for me. Final. Kateska and Fletcher versus Ricochet and the returning Powerhouse Hobbs after 6 months after being injured, stating that the contract of the Don Callis family is over. Guess who's back and is pissed off? It is a Powerhouse Hobb. He looked good. The boy looked good. He didn't look like he had any ring rust. He looked pretty good. He looked like he didn't get tanked. I will say he looked very, very dominant. In the end, it wasn't about him come back. Even though it was good to see him back, this was about what was going to happen to Kyle Fletcher. And this was about what's going to happen with Adam Cole dealing with Kateska. Because at one point, Adam Cole started fighting Kateska after the match was over, and Ricochet pinning a Kateska. That's how it went. But then Adam Cole started fighting Kateska. Then the Don Callis family comes out when it comes to Brian. When it comes to Lance, they both come out. Then we get Davis coming out, who gets in the face of Kyle, who's about to destroy a Adam Cole. But then, because he comes out, but then Will Ospreay comes out, which I was wondering when he was coming. And then you see Will Ospreay with his hair cut short. Really, why? Why did he cut his hair? Because Kyle cut his hair? So Will was going to cut his hair short too, due to the fact he looks like he's balding. Look, guys, I'm 53. I know I'm balding. But what happened to Will? I mean, his hairline was always high, but that hair, the way it looked, unless it was just pushed really far back, you can tell he looks like he's going bald, boy. I thought he would have kept his hair a little bit longer. But what we got was a smudge at the end, which Kyle is still dealing with Will, and Will's probably going to team up with Davis to be dealing with Kyle, and maybe dealing with Kateska by his side. Or it's going to be Lance Archer and Brian Cage, who are going to probably job to a Will Ospreay and a Davis. That's the way it looks. We got 5 storylines with a possible 6 once Taz comes back. I'm not going to tell you they're all great storylines. They're okay storylines. But it's what we've been asking for. We wanted storylines that at least were like this. Not all over the place and look totally messed up. But let's make this clear. This has to be stated. I want to make this clear before the 20-minute mark. Not 2-minute mark, 20. You got. I'm thinking this. We need to know where Moxley is going to be lying by World's End. If this ends at Full Gear, which I don't think it will, they're dead meat. AEW is screwed because the storyline with Moxley has been interesting, but there's nothing behind it. It's got to be at World's End, and they must explain what does this actually mean by World's End. If Shane McMahon is not coming into the company, they better have someone in the place of Shane to make it look good. Unless they're going to bring back let me give it to you like this. There's only one way they can you probably make this work. Probably. Christian Cage's old partner, Adam Copeland, coming back and turning heel, maybe might be what they're setting up if there is no Shane McMahon. And I don't even know if that's even possible. I don't know if I'm right. I don't even know if anyone else is saying it. But if there's no Shane McMahon and there's no one else coming back to the company that we haven't seen in so long that would be important, or someone coming into the company like a Batista, not saying he is, like everyone that you know that meant anything in WWE pretty much doesn't mean anything. And I know, dude, what happened to the Hurt Syndicate? Why don't you mention them? Well, I can't, because we still don't know what they're going to be doing. We don't know how far they're going to push them. So they're not really in a storyline. They're a story, but not a storyline. They're not in an angle yet. They just came in. Bobby just came in. There's no story behind them other than Swerve, but Swerve is not enough yet. And yes, he did come out with Prince Nana, but that story needs time to cook, as they say. It needs more time. I just don't see it developing yet because it's so new. Look, we just got Bobby in. There's not enough time to make the story mean anything yet, unless they're going to be stupid enough to rush it. And that's the reason why I'm not mentioning it as a storyline, because AEW has a tendency when they get someone in that could be something, they rush the match out. They rush it out. Or worse, they don't rush it out, but they don't book it correctly. So that's the reason why the Hook storyline and Christian Cage, I'm not going to say anything about it yet. And now with this, I cannot say anything with the Hurt Syndicate yet, with Swerve. They need time to build up Bobby Lashley. If he's not allowed to get matches under his belt, to talk. Yes, he doesn't talk well, but it doesn't matter. You got MVP there to talk for him, but they got to develop it first. There got to be stakes behind it. Please do not think they don't need stakes. They do. Because they don't put some stakes there and they just give us a damn match, it's going to mean nothing. But it's just me. Peace.